marks from magical creatures and damage from the Ant King on his clothes. But no one made fun of how he looked. Many different feelings rose up inside them. As Jinwoo and the others looked at each other, everything became very quiet. Mr. Hunter Sung, please follow me. Jinchul Woo, who was helping Jinwoo get home, spoke up. Members of the guarding team walked in front of Jinwoo, politely asking people to move aside. People quickly moved aside to let him pass. But there was always someone who needed to talk. As Jinwoo got closer to the car waiting for him, an older man walked up to him. Mr. Hunter, one of the guards, started to step forward, but stopped when Jinwoo signaled him to wait. The man was crying. The old man spoke, struggling to hold back his tears. Mr. Hunter, because of you my son can finally rest peacefully. The elderly man almost fell, but Jinwoo quickly caught him before he did. He grabbed Jinwoo's arm and bowed repeatedly. Thank you. Hunter, really, I just did what needed to be done. Please stand up. Jinchul, who was also helping the old man, left him with someone to look after him. Then he quietly told Jinwoo, Hunter Sung, more people are coming. We should leave now. Jinchul opened the back door for him. Jinwoo looked at the group of people one last time. No one is sure who did it first, but someone in the crowd looked at Jinwoo and nodded their head to show thanks. Soon, other people started doing the same. Everywhere Jinwoo looked, people were bowing to show they were thankful. Hunter Sung, someone said. Jinwoo finally sat down in the car seat, and Jinchul sounded a little worried. Another team member started the car and drove, while Jinchul sat in the front passenger seat. The car drove slowly away from the building. Jinwoo looked out the window without saying a word. The group of people watched the car carefully, not looking away until it was gone. Only then did Jinwoo turn forward and softly put his hand over his heart. Boom! Boom! His heart was beating quickly because he was so happy. Jinwoo had been worried when President Go asked him to wave to the crowd, but now he was happy he had. Seeing everyone so happy made him feel good. But then, oh no! Jinchul quickly looked back at Jinwoo. What is it, Hunter Sung? It's nothing. Jinwoo rubbed his forehead, remembering that he had broken the TV on purpose to keep a secret from his mother. How could he explain what happened? And just like he thought when he checked his phone, he had 13 missed calls from home. The internet was filled with confusion, which wasn't surprising. The mission to Jeju Island was Jinwoo's first official raid after being ranked as an S-class hunter. It was like his first big show for everyone to see. He had defeated a very strong monster called the Ant King, while fighting off huge groups of ants. People gathered online to talk about the broadcast, just like sports fans celebrate after a game. Wow, I don't know what to say. I really don't think it's possible to create so many helpers. I was sick for 10 years, and watching Hunter Sung's helpers fight those creatures made me better. Someone asked if my sickness wasn't very bad since it lasted so long. Others thought it was amazing. You were amazing. I lost my parents on Jeju Island 4 years ago. Hunter Sung probably won't see this. But after the attack, everyone was talking about it online. Jinwoo's name came up in every conversation. People who followed Hunters closely argued about how strong he was. Some thought he was strong enough to be one of the best hunters in the country. Others didn't think so. Let's not jump to conclusions. Why not? He completed a very difficult dungeon almost on his own, and he's clearly much stronger than other top hunters. But Hunter Sung is still new to this. If he's truly that skilled, people will notice soon enough. Anyway, he's really impressive. I heard that hunters at the lowest rank aren't much different from regular people, so how did he become so powerful so quickly? Is Hunter Sung someone who awakened powers a second time? Most people don't know that Jinwoo is a reawakened hunter, because he asked for his information to be kept secret, so of course not everyone is pleased about it. But wait, wouldn't Hunter Min still be alive if Hunter Sung had helped with the raid from the beginning? Why did he show up in the middle of it, after saying he wouldn't participate? It seems someone didn't read the official announcement from the association. What announcement? Please send the link. The association explained that even though Jinwoo was a top-level hunter, he hadn't explored difficult dungeons before. They decided to keep him close by in case something went wrong, and to help when needed, instead of including him on the main raid team right away. This quick explanation from the association calmed down the public. This is the best I can do to help Hunter Sung. With this fast answer, President Go was able to keep Jinwoo's personal life private and prevent him from being blamed for anything. Some people thought the association had made a mistake by not noticing how strong Jinwoo was, but no one blamed Jinwoo. Instead, more and more people began to think highly of him. Everyone believed he bravely stepped forward to help when things were looking terrible for the Korean team, even after the Japanese team, who were supposed to help, had left. If I were in his place, I would have been too frightened to go in, even if someone had made me. Who would want to go in there knowing other very strong hunters were dying? Me neither. How did he talk himself into doing it? Jinwoo-sung is probably the best hunter there is. Right, everyone who criticized him for not joining the raid should really think about what they said. It's funny how people talk when they don't know everything. Even though he asked to keep his information private, Jinwoo became the most well-known hunter in South Korea because of this raid. 2 days later, soldiers and other hunters went to Jeju Island to find Bai Wang Gumin's body. Even though the Knights Guild was one of the best groups in the country, they couldn't help with the raid because they didn't have any hunters as powerful as those needed. Because they volunteered for this job to improve how people saw them. Everything was going well. The trained soldiers were a little slow as the hunters moved forward. Come on, hurry up. We already said we don't feel any magic. You really don't believe us. The hunters walked ahead of the soldiers, signaling them to come faster. The soldiers finally followed, being very careful. This was frustrating for the hunters, but they understood why the soldiers were worried. Regular people couldn't sense magical energy, and they couldn't protect themselves from magical creatures. They had to be very careful. The leader of the Knights Guild clicked his tongue and looked around, hands on his hips. Wow. His mouth dropped open. The closer they got to the ant nest, the more dead ants they saw on the ground. Dead bodies were piled up in heaps in some places. The second in command of the hunter group, who was also a close friend, and worked with the leader for a long time, shook his head. Leader, do you see this? Can you believe one person did all this? The leader didn't answer. The hunter group had been part of the mission on Jeju Island, so they knew how scary the monsters were. To see these creatures like this. Yes, that hunter Jinwoo-sung is definitely very powerful. The second in command continued to be amazed. How is he able to kill all of the monsters in such a large area? It's incredible. The best hunters in the group had fought many monsters before, but they were still surprised by what they saw. They were still amazed as they walked toward the opening of the ant tunnels. Leader, is this it? Yes. The hunters paused just outside the ant cave and waited for the soldiers to join them. The guild leader lit a cigarette, because he had nothing else to do, while waiting. The second in command also brought a cigarette to his mouth, but then it stopped. The guildmaster looked at his helper as the cigarette fell. What's wrong, boss? The second in command quickly touched the guildmaster's shoulder and pointed forward. The leader of the group finally felt something was wrong and turned around. Wow! A person's shadow was seen at the cave's opening. The surprised leader called out. Woo, who you? Jongsu Park. The leader of the Knights group couldn't believe his eyes. A man who looked like he wasn't from around here walked out of the ant's home. But that couldn't be right. This task was very secret, wasn't it? The ground was covered with valuable gems. The group in charge decided to wait before telling everyone the task was finished. They needed to find a way to stop people from rushing in to collect the gems. Almost no one realized the magical creatures were all gone from the island. Only a special group, the soldiers and the person who defeated them. Jinwoo-sung knew the truth. But Jongsu believed strongly that the man standing there wasn't really Jinwoo. How could he forget Jinwoo's face? Everyone in Korea was talking about this hunter, and the Knights Guild really wanted him to join. Jongsu spoke to the person again. I asked who you are. What were you doing in there? Jongsu wasn't sure if the man understood him or just didn't want to answer, because the man only smiled. Yoon Tae-jung, who was second in command of the Knights Guild, moved closer to Jongsu and looked at him with suspicion. Boss, are you sure that's a person? I don't know. They were sure he wasn't a hunter or a magical creature, because they couldn't feel any magic coming from him. But the man seemed strange. He gave off a weird feeling. Yoon Tae usually acted quickly and didn't bother asking questions, but something about this stranger made him stop and think. Unlike the hunters, the soldiers couldn't sense magical energy. Click, click. As soon as they saw the man, the soldiers raised their guns. Afraid they might hurt someone, Jongsu quickly told them to stop. Wait, don't shoot. He's not a magical creature. Then is he a person? That's probably true. Jongsu nodded, but he looked unsure. If the person wasn't a magical creature, then they must be human. With what he knew, that seemed like the only answer. The leader of the soldiers nodded in agreement. Okay, we will take care of things now. What do you mean? Aren't you here just to get Hunterman's body? We were also told to watch what is happening on Jeju Island. Jiangsu nodded, and stepped back. If the person they were dealing with wasn't a hunter or a magical creature, the Knights Guild didn't need to get involved. Jiangsu thought it was best to stay back and watch, and not get involved. The commander yelled at the man, "You are in an area you are not allowed to be. If you don't do what we say, we will shoot." The man kept smiling. The soldiers felt nervous. They wondered if they should shoot. They had never shot at a person before, so it was understandable they were unsure. The hunters were feeling worried. They began to think the strange man was hiding something because he just stood there smiling. Then the man put his hands into his pockets. Was he even human? How could someone be so calm with so many guns pointed at him? Jiangsu looked very serious. The soldiers grew more and more nervous because they couldn't see the man's hands. "Don't shoot! Don't shoot yet!" The commander shouted, and a vein stood out in his neck. "But then, Commander," a soldier yelled, and the commander turned back to the man just in time to see him open his mouth. He spoke a language they didn't recognize. He didn't just sound different, but his voice and the way he spoke seemed to come from another world. What did he say? The soldiers were confused because they had never heard anything like it before. Jiangsu stammered, "Is that the language of magical creatures? Sometimes hunters met smart magical creatures in difficult dungeons." The man spoke a language like theirs. Then that thing is before the commander could finish speaking. The foreign man took his hands from his pockets. Bang! A loud, sharp sound filled the air. A soldier who was well trained quickly fired his gun, because the man moved in a way that seemed strange. Ouch! The surprised commander quickly turned to look at the man. The small metal piece struck him in the forehead and dropped to the ground. The man's smile disappeared. A magical creature! He isn't a normal person! The yelling stopped quickly, when the man's eyes turned red. Everyone felt a squeeze in their chest. Oh! 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 But then a sharp snap. At the sound, the people went still and fell to the ground as if someone had cut their strings. It wasn't him who did that. He turned to talk to someone else. "What are you doing?" A smaller man, about middle-aged, came up behind him. "There's no need to cause problems. I just made them fall asleep." This new man also spoke in a strange language. "You are right." The first stranger agreed, but he looked unhappy. His older friend looked into the cave. "Did you make sure?" The first man nodded. "It's definitely his ability." "That's strange." The older man looked at the hunters who had passed out. "I don't understand why he would help people. Who knows what he's thinking? If you want to know so badly, why don't you ask him?" "No, I don't think so." The older man shook his head. "The hunt will begin as we decided. Nothing is different." "I understand." The older man moved his hand, and a dark opening, like a doorway, appeared in the air. It was just big enough for one person to step through. "Oh? That's right." The other man glanced back at his friend. "It seems like one of them is here. In Korea, should we take care of that one first? Now that we're here." The older man's eyes became narrow. He quickly remembered what the first person had said, but he didn't want to do what his friend suggested. "I think we should let him take care of this place." "Are you saying you don't want to help?" "I guess you could say that. Think about what you want." The man's voice came after him as the gate closed. After checking that the gate was fully closed, the stranger quietly said, "Coward." He looked at the people lying on the ground. They would wake up soon. He made a sound like a small sniff and reached out his hand toward the people. He slowly pulled his hand back. "I suppose there's no reason to start a fight." The mysterious person quickly went through another gate. Later that night, Jinwoo sat on the floor in his room looking at a dagger. It was the Demon Monarch's dagger, and it had worked very well in the fight against the Ant King. Item: Demon Monarch's dagger. How hard it was to get. Very difficult type dagger. Adds attack power 2020 at dagger. Taken from Balin, the Demon Monarch. When you use both Demon Monarch's daggers together, a special bonus is activated. This bonus, called 2-in-1, adds attack power to each dagger equal to your current strength. The combined attack power and this bonus were very powerful. Jinwoo looked at the information about the dagger again and again. It was easy to see why he was surprised. His old dagger, called Barca's dagger, was a good weapon, but it only had an attack power of 11. Jinwoo looked all over the shop trying to find another excellent dagger, but he couldn't find one with an attack power over 2. He was also happy that his strength would make his attacks even stronger when he used both daggers. He was already very strong with a strength level over 200 and almost 250, so adding that much power was amazing. He guessed the daggers would be 4 times more powerful than Barca's dagger. No wonder they felt so good to use. Other hunters would be very excited to have these daggers if they knew how strong they were. What about the sword? Item Demon Monarch's sword. How hard is it to get very difficult type sword attack power? 350. This sword has the power of Balin, the Demon Monarch. Every time you swing it, you get a special boost called Storm of White Lightning. Storm of White Lightning creates a storm of lightning in an area. Swords are usually more powerful than daggers, so it made sense that this sword would have more attack power than a single dagger. The sword had a special ability that was really strange. I can hit many enemies at once just by swinging it. That would be a very helpful weapon when fighting groups of enemies. Actually, Jinwoo still remembered how much trouble the sword gave his shadow soldiers. It was very difficult for them to handle. It wasn't as strong as a real wizard's power, but it was still very good. If I wasn't good with daggers, I would use the sword more. Jinwoo was about to swing the sword in his room, but he stopped himself. Even though it was late, hitting something with lightning in the next room would wake everyone up, and he didn't want to give his mother any more worries. He carefully put the sword down. It was a good thing. His mother didn't mind him having a job. When Jinwoo got home, he told his mother everything that had happened, except for the details about the system. He explained that he had become a powerful hunter, after unexpectedly gaining new abilities, and that he wanted to keep working as one. At first, she was worried, but she eventually agreed. I want you to do what makes you happy, Jinwoo. She only asked him not to push himself too hard. He thought about what his mother had said next. Is that why he showed up? Who? I thought I heard your father's voice while I was in the hospital. What did he say? She explained that she had never heard anyone's voice in a dream before, and hadn't heard it since. Jinwoo realized his mom still missed his dad. Even though she was sad, she let him become a hunter, because she trusted him. So Jinwoo really wanted to make his mother proud. Staying alive was the most important thing to him. He had become who he was today, even though he faced many challenges, because he never quit. Okay, now that his mother fully supported him, nothing could stop him from exploring dangerous places. He could start a group and get stronger quickly, by exploring the most challenging dungeons. Jinwoo was very excited. He also had another reason to become more powerful. Jinwoo called forth Igris, the shadow warrior who had been with him for a long time. Igris was special, because he was the only powerful warrior given to him directly by the system. Igris was very connected to the system, even more so than the other soldiers. Will I be able to talk to you when I become stronger? Jinwoo had many questions he wanted to ask. Igris? But Igris didn't answer. He stayed quiet as always. If silence could be heard, Igris would be the loudest soldier ever. Jinwoo laughed and gathered the Demon Monarch's weapons. He put them away in his inventory. As he did, something shiny caught his attention. What was that? Jinwoo's eyes grew wide. One of the items in his inventory was glowing. It was a black key. The black key from the strange box was shining, almost like it was calling to him. Jinwoo looked at it in surprise. He carefully set down his weapons and reached out to take the key. When he opened his hand, there it was. It was called the Carton Temple's key. It was very hard to get. This key unlocks the door to the Carton Temple. You can use it at the special gate. The location of the gate will be shown after the time runs out. Time remaining for 17 hours, 6 minutes and 52 seconds. He had never seen a description like this before. The Carton Temple. He tilted his head. How odd, he hadn't heard of it before, but it sounded a little familiar. No, he definitely knew that name. He thought hard until his eyes widened. The Double Dungeon. The old temple at the end of the double dungeon. The temple and the stone statues. The stone slate held by one of the statues. He was starting to remember everything. That's right. It was like he could almost hear Mr. Song reading the first sentence on the stone slate. The rules of the Carton Temple. The slate had named the place with the scary statues, the Carton Temple. The temple's name matched the description on the black key, and that couldn't be an accident. This probably meant he could go back. Jinwoo felt nervous and got goosebumps as his blurry memories started to become clear. Could it really be true? No. It had to be. The system was signaling Jinwoo again, bringing him back to where everything started. The item began to glow, as if the system worried Jinwoo wouldn't notice it. It also clearly showed where the item needed to be used. No matter how Jinwoo thought about it, the system was trying to get his attention.